Today I'm going to show you how to integrate an old school MIDI patch bay with a more modern MIDI interface for a computer. With this method, multiple MIDI channels can be routed to and from a DAW. No need to unplug, replug, or daisy chain MIDI gear with this simple workflow. We'll be using the JLC Synapse, which has 16 inputs and 20 outputs, but only has 5-pin DIN connectors. The MOTU MIDI Express 128 has 8-in, 8-out DIN connectors, but also has a MIDI interface for computer connection. And all of this will be eventually routed to Apple Logic Pro. In this demo, 3 synthesizers and the MOTU interface will be connected to the outputs on the Synapse. Micro Monster and Double Drummer from Audio Thingies and the Kawai K3 will listen on discrete MIDI channels for their note data. The MOTU interface will allow Logic Pro 10 to record note data for later playback. Coming into the Synapse is a controller keyboard that will send note data to the synthesizers and Logic Pro. Logic Pro will play back through the MOTU interface at a separate Synapse input. The controller keyboard today is the Yamaha YS200. No patch will be sounded from the YS200 today. It is strictly sending note data to the synthesizers and Logic Pro. So I'll turn the big volume knob all the way down. I'll set up the Micro Monster first. I'll use a bass patch I like. Patch number 10 is solid bass. And it sounds like a smooth electric fretless bass. I'll set the Micro Monster to receive MIDI channel 5. Everything here is connected on DIN connectors to the Synapse. I'll set up the Double Drummer next. I like the EEPROM drum kit that came preset on the unit. EEPROM is program number 3. Sounds like perhaps they're Linn drum samples. Not sure about that, but they sound really good. Next, I will set up the Double Drummer to receive MIDI channel 10. And that's a pretty standard MIDI channel for most things percussion and drums. The final synthesizer to set up is the Kawai K3. Right now it's set at MIDI channel 1, but I'm going to change that to MIDI channel 15. Now the Synapse outputs for those synthesizers will be assigned an input. The controller keyboard is attached to Synapse input 16, which will be represented by the letter G on the Synapse display. For more details, check out my previous video explaining the Synapse basics. I'll write on to program number 11 on the Synapse. Why not? Pressing the mode button once allows us to change the output assignments. Output number 1 is the MOTU interface that feeds Logic Pro. The controller keyboard is at Synapse input 16, or letter G, so we'll assign G to output number 1. Output number 7 is the Double Drummer. We're also going to assign that to letter G, which is the keyboard controller. And 17. 17 is the Micro Monster. We're going to assign that letter G. And finally, output 20 also gets input G assigned to it, and that is the K3. This is our initial setup for recording. I'll hold the right button and press 1-1 to assign all of these changes to Synapse program number 11. The Synapse connects to Logic through the MOTU interface on port number 8. The hardware is all set up, so let's set up the software end of things. We're launching Logic Pro 10. We'll select a new empty project, and we'll go ahead and set the beats per minute to 110 beats per minute. It'll ask us what type of tracks we want to set up. We want to make some external MIDI tracks, and we're going to set up 3 of those babies right off the bat. Once those are established, I will also add 1 audio track so that we can have an input monitor for all the sounds coming from the synthesizers. I'll drag that to the bottom of the list here. Next, we'll set up our MIDI tracks. I'm going to go through and name them all. The first one here will be the Micro Monster. And the next one will be the Double Drummer. And the final one here will be the Kawai K3 synthesizer. And I'm going to name the input audio track, we'll call it Combined Synth. Let's go back up to the Micro Monster and let's give it a MIDI channel. First we got to select a port. There's no port selected, so we're going to choose the last port on the MIDI Express 128. I've named it Synapse. So port 8 is where the Synapse is connected to. I'm going to choose MIDI channel 5 for the Micro Monster to match what it should be receiving. I'm going to change the icon too to something colorful. Next we'll do the double drummer. The double drummer port is also now selected as Synapse, since we already changed the first one, but the MIDI channel will change to MIDI 10. And finally, we will take the Kawai K3 on the Synapse port, port 8 on the MOTU, and we'll change that over to MIDI channel 15. Just for clarity and sanity, I'm going to change the track color. I will change the track color of the MIDI tracks to a nice bright orange color. And I'll leave the audio path as a blue colored track. Now it's time to make sure all of our hardware and software is configured correctly. I'm going to hit the input select button on the audio track so we can hear what we're triggering with all of our MIDI gear. We'll test out the Micro Monster on MIDI channel 5. Next, we'll try out the double drummer. Double drummer is on MIDI channel 5, also on the same Synapse port. And finally, we'll make sure the Kawai K3 is receiving information on MIDI channel 15. Before I commit to this patch, no. I think I'm going to change this over to something else that's a little bit more of a swell sound. I like this. Yeah, I think we'll stick with this pad sound. We'll start by recording a MIDI drum track. We're going to hit Job on the YS200, select the MIDI option, and change the transmit channel over to channel 10 so that the double drummer can receive MIDI channel 10. The double drummer track is selected and armed, so let's do it. We'll tap the mode button once to change the output assignment of output number 7, which is the double drummer. We want to change this over to having input number 3 drive output number 7. Input number 3 is the MOTU interface coming from Logic. And my keyboard drumming has never been very consistent, so I will quantize the double drummer sequence to 16th notes. And now we can play back and see what it sounds like. Next we'll record some Micro Monster bass on MIDI channel 5. we'll change output number 17 to receive input number 3, which of course is the MOTU interface, so that Logic can now play back the monster bass. And my bass skills are on par with my drumming skills, so we'll quantize the bass to 16th notes. Okay, here we are in the home stretch. We'll change the transmit channel once again, this time to channel 15, to add some K3 pads. Let's switch the output assignment so the K3 can receive Logic Pro. And because I'm already in the habit, let's quantize the K3 pads, but maybe only to quarter notes. Because let's face it, if I can't hit quarter notes, I probably shouldn't play keyboards. So that's our little demo song to show you how to take a couple synthesizers and route them through the JLC Synapse into a MOTU MIDI Express onto a DAW like Apple Logic. Last thing we'll do is hold the right button and press 2-2 to save these changes to Synapse program number 22. Program 11 is now set up to push a controller device to synthesizers and Logic Pro, and program 22 is set up to playback from Logic to all synthesizers.